Hello, third graders, and welcome to Journey's Lesson 1, A Fine, Fine School. The genre of our story this week is humorous fiction. So humorous fiction has characters and events that are funny. As you read, look for mostly realistic characters and events, a setting that is familiar to most readers, and the setting just means where the story takes place. So this story is going to take place somewhere that should be familiar to you. Also look for funny situations or events that happen in the story. Our author is Sharon Creech. When Sharon Creech is working on a book, she sometimes gets stuck. She doesn't know what to write next. When that happens, she goes for a long walk, does some laundry, or cleans the bathroom. Then she returns to her computer and starts writing again. Our illustrator, remember guys, the illustrator is the one who does all the pictures for a story. So our illustrator of this story is Harry Bliss. Sharon Creech thinks the illustrations Harry Bliss drew for A Fine, Fine School are very funny, especially the ones with Tilly's dog in the background. Bliss is a cartoonist whose comic strip appears in daily newspapers. He and his family live in Vermont. So we definitely want to be looking for some very funny illustrations as we read our story today. Also, as we read, we want to be thinking about our essential question. How is learning at school different from learning at home? All right. I can't wait to get started with our story. Here we go. Mr. Keane was a principal who loved his school. Every morning, he strolled down the hallway and saw the children in their classes. He saw them learning shapes and colors and numbers and letters. He saw them reading and writing and drawing and painting. He saw them making dinosaurs and forts and pyramids. "Oh," he would say, "aren't these fine children? Aren't these fine teachers? Isn't this a fine, fine school?" And we can see many, many things going on in these illustrations, can't we, guys? I see the kids making the dinosaur in the background. It says paper mache, directions for constructing a pretty big T-Rex. Number 1, clear construction area. Number 2, build. And then we can see Mr. Keane, he's poking his head in and seeing all of the wonderful things that all of his students in his fine, fine school are doing. Look on the board, guys. They're writing Futurism, Cubism, Impressionism. We have kids reading a book about Picasso. We have kids drawing pictures. We have kids building a pyramid out of paper, and they have a book that says The Pyramids, How They Did It. All right, so many interesting things happening in this picture. Wow. All right, let's keep reading. Near Mr. Keane's school, Tilly lived with her parents and her brother and her dog Beans in a small house next to a big tree. On Mondays and Tuesdays and Wednesdays and Thursdays and Fridays, Tilly went off to school. At school, Tilly learned her shapes and colors and numbers and letters. Sometimes, when she saw Mr. Keane standing in the hallway, he waved. "Aren't these fine children?" he said to himself. "Aren't these fine teachers? Isn't this a fine, fine school?" On the weekends, Saturday and Sunday, Tilly climbed her favorite tree, and she took Beans on walks and threw him sticks. And she pushed her brother on a swing and tried to teach him how to skip. But on Mondays and Tuesdays and Wednesdays and Thursdays and Fridays, Tilly went off to school. Beans and her brother did not like to see her go. "Hurry, hurry, hurry home," her brother called. We can see some funny illustrations here, guys. So we can see Tilly's dog Beans. Look at him, he is ready to play baseball. He's got his glove on, his headband, his little suit, and his ball. He's ready. And then over here on page 19, we can show when she is taking Beans for the walks and throwing sticks. She has to say, "Let go now, Beans." She's trying to teach him, you have to let go of the stick. And then as she's trying to teach her brother how to skip, He's thinking, be one with the skip. Those are just some of the funny things I notice in these illustrations. One day, Mr. Keane called all the students and teachers together and said, "This is such a fine, fine school. I love this school. Let's have more school. From now on, let's have school on Saturdays too." The teachers and the students did not want to go to school on Saturdays, but no one knew how to tell Mr. Keane that. He was so proud of the children and the teachers, of all the learning they were doing every day. And so, that Saturday, Tilly set off for school. "But it's Saturday! What about the swings?" her brother called. The following month, Mr. Keane announced, "This is such a fine, fine school. I love this school. Let's have more school. From now on, let's have school on Sundays too." The teachers and the students did not want to go to school on Sundays, but no one knew how to tell Mr. Keane that. He was so proud of the children and the teachers, of all the learning they were doing every day. And so, that Sunday, Tilly set off for school. "But it's Sunday! What about the skipping?" her brother called. So we can see on page 20, we can see from the expressions on everybody's faces, they do not appear to be happy about Mr. Keane's announcement, do they, guys? And then if we look at page 21, we can see Tilly doesn't look very happy either. Her brother is definitely not happy that she won't be there to help him on the swing. And then we have one of those funny illustrations with the dog in the background. Notice what the dog is doing. Looks like he's mowing the lawn in a pair of shorts. Okay, let's keep reading. The following month, Mr. Keane called everyone together again and said, "This is such a fine, fine school. I love this school. Let's have more school. From now on, let's have school in the summer too, all summer long, every single day. How much we will learn," he said. "We can learn everything. We will learn all about numbers and letters, colors and shapes, the Romans and the Egyptians and the Greeks. We will learn about dinosaurs and castles and everything. We will learn everything." The teachers and the students did not want to go to school on Saturdays and Sundays and holidays and all summer long every single day. But no one knew how to tell Mr. Keane that. He was so proud of the children and the teachers, of all the learning they were doing every day. And so, on the first day of summer, Tilly set off for school. "But it's summer! What about summer?" her brother called. Let's look at these pictures, guys. Look at what's written on the board on page 22. It says, "Why not study while you chew?" Oh my goodness. These poor kids, they look very tired and very stressed out a little bit. And then on page 23, oh my goodness. So there's her brother. He's in the swimming pool and he doesn't understand at all why Tilly is leaving and why she has to go to school in the summertime. And then the dog is the lifeguard dog. So he is on duty since Tilly's not there to help with swimming lessons. He's got to be the lifeguard. And then we can see Tilly is covered in Post-it notes. There's one that says test today. One says huge test Sunday. Massive quiz Saturday, big test tomorrow, the largest test in the entire universe next week. And then another Post-it says, get more Post-its. Oh, poor Tilly. And that day, Tilly went to see Mr. Keane. She stood in his office in front of his desk. "What a fine, fine school this is," Mr. Keane said. "What amazing things everyone is learning." "Yes," Tilly said. "We certainly are learning some amazing things." "A fine, fine school," Mr. Keane said. "But," Tilly said, "not everyone is learning." "What?" Mr. Keane said. He looked very worried. "Who? Who isn't learning? Tell me, and I will see that they learn." "My dog Beans hasn't learned how to sit," Tilly said. "And he hasn't learned how to jump over the creek." "Oh," Mr. Keane said. "And my little brother hasn't learned how to swing or skip." "Oh," Mr. Keane said. "And she said. "But you go to school," Mr. Keane said, "to our fine, fine school." "True," Tilly said, "but I haven't learned how to climb very high in my tree, and I haven't learned how to sit in my tree for a whole hour." "Oh," Mr. Keane said. This is funny, guys. On page 25, we can see her little brother is reading a book that says skipping for little brothers. Oh, since she's not there to teach him how to skip. And then we can see Beans is knitting. He's sitting under the tree and he's knitting. I wonder what Mr. Keane is going to think of what Tilly just told him. That day, Mr. Keane walked up and down the halls, looking at the children and the teachers. Up and down he walked. Up and down. Up and down. We have some things going on in the illustrations on this page, guys. So, I don't know about you, but to me, these kids look very, very exhausted and just totally worn out. These kids are going to school every single day. They're not getting a break at all. So we can see a girl carrying a huge stack of books about Russia, Africa, China, economics. And then another girl is putting a box of 10,000 pencils into her locker. And then the boy's brushing his teeth. He's got his floss and his little mirror since he has no time to do that at home. And he's got even a little note there inside his locker that says, "Don't forget to brush. Love, Mom." And then he's got a note that says, "Recess, quiz Sunday." Oh, and this guy over here on the right, his little picture, he's got a picture of his parents in his locker, and it says, "We miss you, son, Mom and Dad." Yeah, so let's see. Somebody has a backpack that is so stuffed with things. It says wide load on it, and it says, "How's my walking?" Oh my goodness. There are lots of other things for you to notice in these illustrations. I think Mr. Keane might be starting to realize something. The next morning, Mr. Keane called everyone together. The children and the teachers were very worried. Mr. Keane said, "This is a fine, fine school with fine, fine children and fine, fine teachers. But not everyone is learning." The children and the teachers were very, very worried. Mr. Keane said, "There are dogs who need to learn how to sit and how to jump creeks." What did he mean? Was he going to make their dogs come to school? There are little brothers and sisters who need to learn how to swing and how to skip. What did he mean? Was he going to make their younger brothers and sisters come to school too? The children and the teachers were very, very, very worried. And you, all of you, children and teachers, you need to learn how to climb a tree and sit in it for an hour, Mr. Keane said. So we can see here on page 28, everyone looks very, very worried. I think because every time Mr. Keane has called them together to make an announcement, he tells them they're going to have more school. So I think they're looking like they are very, very worried about what he's going to tell them. On page 29, it looks like Tilly's imagining her little brother having to come to school, and he's so small he can barely even fit at the desk. He can't even see. barely can see what's on the top of his desk, and he can't reach his pencil really. It sounds to me like Mr. Keane is about to make a very important announcement. The children and the teachers were very worried. And so from now on, we will not have school on Saturdays or Sundays or in the summer. A huge, enormous, roaring cheer soared up to the ceiling and floated out the windows so that everyone in the town heard the fine, fine children and the fine, fine teachers shout, "Fine, fine, fine!" And you can see how happy and relieved everyone is. And the fine, fine children and the fine, fine teachers lifted Mr. Keane up, and they carried him down the hallway and out the doors and through the town, up and down, in and out. And everywhere they went, the people said, "What a fine, fine school with such fine, fine teachers and fine, fine children and a fine, fine principal." The end. I think Mr. Keane had some learning to do in this story. I hope you enjoyed this story, guys, and I will see you soon.